To understand this better and how this war is impacting the space, the pilots and the industry as a whole, joining us now to discuss this is George Hibberd, who's the co-founder of Safe Landing. Thank you, George, for making time for us. Lufthansa's CEO has suggested that Iran war could weaken Gulf carriers' dominance in Asia. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think it's going to impact predominantly carriers in West Asia, but I also think this is going to impact people all around the world. We're seeing fuel prices increase as a result of the conflict in the area. We're seeing airlines rerouting around Iran, congestion in the airspace, which is impacting on air traffic control, aircraft having to make additional stops, cancellations, and all of this is leading to a big rise in airfares around the world, not just in West Asia, and that's going to lead to less travellers booking flights, and as a result, airfares are going down. And this is, from an aviation worker's perspective, this is really, really disruptive. We may see even greater impacts on aviation workers, like job losses. But yeah, it's having a massive impact all around the world.
Right. You're a former pilot yourself. I wanted to understand from you, with large parts of West Asian airspace closing or becoming unsafe, how do pilots assess real-time risk while flying near conflict zones?
Yeah, well, I'm very lucky that I've never had to operate near a conflict zone. I worked predominantly in Europe, where generally it was quite safe as long as you couldn't go far east as Russia. So I'm quite lucky in that respect. But as pilots, we're trained in what's called threat and error management. And day to day, that means we're managing threats like disruptions or extreme weather or emergencies in flight. So what this will be, it will be another threat, albeit a much greater threat. But a lot of that threat will be managed by air traffic control and our airlines. So we'll be in our flight, we'll be looking at that threat. But yeah, hopefully it shouldn't impact us too much. It's more going to be, the increased threat will be the increased congestion in the airspace around Iran, because if you can see those maps of all the aircraft flying north and south of Iran, it's a really congested airspace. That's probably one of the biggest threats. But really you have to put your trust in the carrier and in the airline that the route that you're taking is the safest.
Right. This war has shaken up things in the aviation space, of course. But let's understand that the West Asia, this region was projected to generate a major share of global airline profit. According to you, how has this conflict disrupted those expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this concept that West Asia is a really safe place to be. Certainly from the UK perspective, the way that the UK sees places like the United Arab Emirates and that part of the world, it's seen as a very safe place. People make the sort of joke that it's safer than London, which I'm not sure is entirely true. But it certainly has smashed that expectation that West Asia is a safe place to be. We're seeing the impact on Dubai, and that entire region has been roped into a conflict not of their choosing. And I certainly think this will make a lot of Europeans and Americans, people in the global north, really question whether West Asia is somewhere that they want to put their business or move or live in. So yeah, it's going to have a massive impact on that perception of West Asia.
Right. I want to understand one more thing from you. What kind of impact do longer routes have? This is in context of the strain that longer routes put, whether it's the higher fuel burn and crew limitations.
Yeah, so I mean, the price of fuel is going to be massive, if nothing else. But as you can see with those maps, looking at aircraft flying around Iran, the increased routes mean that you're going to have a higher fuel burn, but you'll also have to take extra fuel for contingencies in case something goes wrong during the flight. So all of this is going to compound and make airfares much, much higher. I think I saw a statistic in Reuters last week that some airfares are 7 times the price that they used to be before this conflict, which is a massive increase. So this is going to have a massive impact on aviation demand, and airlines are really going to be paying the price because a lot of airlines operate on quite a small profit margin.
Right. One final thought I wanted to, I want to hear from you. You said that you were lucky enough not to fly in a conflict zone when you were a pilot yourself. But you also mentioned that pilots are trained for such times. For the benefit of our viewers, if you could share, what are the what is the psychology of pilots, or when they are preparing for a challenging flight? What goes through the head?
Yeah, well, pilots are really well trained in threat and error management. What we don't have is training in conflict zones, because that's not our remit. We're commercial airlines, we're not fighter pilots. But we'll have a management framework to manage all of those risks, and we can pretty much predict any threat that the aircraft can have. And we have a very, like a checklist for pretty much everything that we go through. So we'll diagnose the problem, we'll look at our different options, we'll decide what we need to do, we'll take that action, and then we'll review it ongoing. So we'll probably just transpose a lot of those frameworks that we use for the normal sort of threats that we face in flight, which are very benign sort of threats like weather, and we'll just use that management framework for this particularly anxiety-inducing situation.
All right. Thank you, George Hibberd, for making time and speaking with CNBC TV 18. On that note, we will slip into a short break.